Hey there, my friend. It's Tricia Carr. Real quick before we head into this episode, I just want to make sure that you know about Modern Mystic Life, a subscription service for spiritual mentoring and education. The monthly subscription is only $11.11 per month. We have regular support and inspiration delivered with the utmost ease right into your text messenger 2 to 4 times per week. You can use your mobile device or your desktop messenger to access the lessons and meditations, a monthly MP3 download of a produced meditation, at least once per month live meditation led by me. There is no account login, and we have a monthly live class workshop. These are usually $35 for non-subscribers, so it is quite a deal. And the community is amazing. This is a way for you to support the Charmed Life podcast and also a way for us to be able to work more closely together. So do check out how you can subscribe in the show notes. I hope to see you there. Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. We have an infectious conversation for you today with my very special guest who is going to talk to us all about the law of attraction and how to be wildly wealthy. Sandy Forster. She is the money mindset mentor for women worldwide who are ready to experience more abundance, prosperity, and money in their life. Sandy went from welfare to millionaire and was featured in Oprah's Aussie Secret and loves inspiring and empowering women to break through their blocks, attract abundance, and experience time and money and freedom to do the things that make their heart sing. Her award-winning international bestseller, How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast, has been translated into over 11 languages and banned to over 1.4 billion people because it is too empowering. I find that amazing. Sandy is the host of the Wildly Wealthy Women podcast and has transformed hundreds of thousands of women's lives around the world. Sandy lives in her own tropical paradise near the beach in sunny Australia and is visited by wild kangaroos grazing on her acreage every afternoon. And you can connect with her at wildlywealthy.com. And so we do have this conversation while Sandy is in what is early morning for her. And there are just so many birds singing the whole time. I enjoy it very much. I think you will enjoy it too. And I truly do feel like I caught the buzz of a renewed sense of working with the law of attraction. So we get into a lot of different perspectives and aspects of the law of attraction, including something that is somewhat of a hot topic. And I want to mention this up front as I discuss this with Sandy, and that is we talk about the criticism. We mentioned just a little bit the criticism that some people have of law of attraction as it not being an appropriate service to people, for example, who are marginalized. And I just want to make sure that it is understood that as I discuss that, I am in no way negating the fact that we need action to change systemic marginalization and racism at all. I'm more just contextualizing the fact that the law of attraction, I think the law of attraction doesn't necessarily address that because it doesn't address global concerns. It's more of an individual process. So we definitely need all of the action and activism to be able to make this world and this society, the societies better. So I just want to make sure that that's clear as we head in. So I'm going to invite you into this conversation. Really listen to the whole thing. And I will chat with you on the other side. Sandy, I'm so excited to talk to you and all the birds who have joined us in the podcast today.
There is a bit of a background sing-song going on.
I love it. We should let everyone hear them for a moment. That's where Sandy lives. All of her attending familiars, well, they're wild birds around where you live. Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm really happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Well, I would love to hear all about the incredible work you are doing and your spiritual journey. I'm really excited because I feel like all of the podcasts that I do, they're always, of course, divinely timed because what isn't? But I'm really open. My heart's really open to hear and receive all that you are sharing on our beautiful world. So, yeah, wherever you want to start, let us get into the light of you.
Okay, so I guess best place to start is going right back. So when I was 15, my parents decided to sell our house where we lived down in one of the very cold states of Australia and move to one of the warm states up north. But instead of just moving, we ended up traveling the world for about 9, 10 months.
Mm.
But and when I tell people that, they think, "Oh, wow, how fancy." But
Sounds
but
exhausting.
we roughed it. Like, we were staying in youth hostels. I remember when we crossed over to Morocco, we actually slept on the beach under the stars.
Mm.
So yeah, we slept in campgrounds. It was an amazing trip. But after that, we ended up moving to beautiful Queensland. I went to high school, met a boy, and we went out for 11 years, got married, had 2 kids. My youngest was 6 months old, and we split up.
Mm.
So suddenly, the thing that I had been doing at the time, which was kind of more of a hobby that ended up turning into a business, I was designing and manufacturing swim and gym wear.
Mm.
And that business never really made me much money. I think it made enough to kind of put petrol in the car and pay the electricity, but that's about it. And then suddenly that business had to be my entire income. And oh my gosh, it was just so stressful. And I ended up just getting further and further in debt. And I ended up on welfare.
Mm.
So at the time, I was receiving, I think it was about, in US dollars, it was about $7,500. So that's $15,000 in Australian money. And that's a year. So
For a
that's
year. Oh my
a
gosh.
year. I know, it's ridiculous. So you're not getting ahead, you're just getting further and further behind. And we don't have things like food stamps in Australia. So it was just like, I just got further and further into debt. And I really didn't know how I'd ever be able to turn my life around because, in my mind, I had all this debt. Even if I found a good job, it would take me forever to pay that off and live at the same time. And I just couldn't see a way out. And I didn't have any skills. I didn't have anything that could really help me to change my life. But one thing I did have was I had this belief that I was born into the wrong life. Like, I really felt like I was meant to be a millionaire because every time I saw someone doing something amazing or buying a house or traveling, my heart just was like, oh, that's my life. Like, what am I doing? So for me, I guess really feeling like I wanted something different caused me to kind of dive into personal development a lot. And I read so many books, I listened to so many audios, and then the internet came around and I'm just diving into everything I could. And I was really, really blessed, but obviously the universe guided me to discover the law of attraction. Now, prior to that, I was right into positive thinking, but positive thinking is kind of only very surface level. Law of
Mm.
attraction, whole new level. And that just blew my mind that I could actually spend my days thinking about and focusing on what I wanted. So instead of, renting a house and being worried that they were going to put the rent up or they were going to kick me out or I wasn't able to put anything up on the walls, you couldn't decorate it the way you wanted it. Imagining having my own house that was all mine, that I could do whatever I want, stay there for as long as I wanted. And imagine having a car, for instance, that actually went and didn't leak so much every time it rained that a plant would grow in the back. So imagining all these fun things, imagining having a cleaner come to my house because, oh, I hate cleaning. So imagine having a cleaner come to my house and be able to go to yoga sessions and meditation sessions and have a gym membership and travel and go to health retreats, like all the things that my heart was just yearning to do that I could not do. And then everyday things like my children, they knew that they could not ask me for an ice cream if we were down the street or a packet of chips or, crisps. They couldn't ask me for anything because my answer was always no, because we had no money. And I think our biggest splurge was maybe once a month, if that. I used to buy a Domino's pizza, one pizza between the three of us, and buy a movie that we could watch on TV. That was it. That was our big splurge.
Mm.
So, being in that place and really wanting something different, I was really blessed, as I said, to be guided toward the law of attraction and blew my mind. And so I really dived into it. I really just took it to heart that it was a universal law. And if it worked for one person, it would work for everyone. It's just a matter of applying it. And so I did. And I just embraced it. And I made up so many different processes and exercises and ways to continually focus on what I really wanted, on all the things that made my heart sing. And by doing that, by constantly putting my energy, my focus there, it made me come up with ideas and it made me take actions, which is something I want to talk about later. But it just made me get into this space where my life transformed. I went from welfare to millionaire, and it's my absolute passion now to help as many women around the world to create whatever their level of prosperity is. Not everyone wants to be a millionaire. Some people just want to pay off all their debts or just be in that place where they can quit their job and do something they love. So that's my passion. That's my story in a nutshell.
Like I said, it's so divinely timed because I think it was just yesterday, my husband was asking me, he was saying, like, "I don't like the word manifest. Like, it doesn't make any sense." He said, and he was like he was all bitter. And I get kind of asking me like to explain that word or whatever. And I said, well, if your focus is like, if you're focusing on what you love, and then that will create the state of being that will help you to move forward in the right actions and also to see opportunities that may be there and create opportunities, and you hold your goal and you keep moving toward it, but you focus on it as though it's a foregone conclusion the way you feel it. And he goes, oh, okay, well, I mean, yeah, that's just how life works. And he's like, because I hear people say, like, you just sit around and you don't do anything but think about it. And then, then it just happens spontaneously. Then it just shows up on your front door. And I'm like, well, I don't know who's saying that. And if that's the impression you're getting, then they're either wrong or you're not hearing the whole story. You just said it gave you ideas. Like, the action is, of course, a part of it. We are human beings. We have to do the things that come from our being, right?
Exactly. And, I think this is the thing when it comes to the law of attraction. People and manifesting, people think that it is all about sitting around and just meditating and visualizing and everything drops into your lap. But
Mm,
it doesn't happen like that. Having
mm.
said that, one of the things I teach people is about money miracles. And honestly, I have seen miracle after miracle that just blows your mind. But for the majority of people and the majority of instances, it is all about aligning body, mind, and spirit. So it's all
Right.
about your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And the
Yeah.
thing that most people are missing is they're not taking the action. And when
Mhm.
you don't take action, because what's the book? The Science of Getting Rich, okay, written back in 1910, decades ago, very old language. A lot of it, is kind of very hard to understand. But there's one sentence in there that he says that I absolutely love. He says, by thought, the thing you desire is brought to you, but by action, you receive it.
Yeah.
So it's by thought, the thing you desire is brought to you, but it's still in the metaphysical. It's beyond the physical. It's not there in your life. So by thought, the thing you desire is brought to you, but by action, you receive it. It actually turns from the metaphysical into the physical. So action's a huge part,
Well,
definitely.
if you were really, really thinking it all the way, and if you're really, really feeling it all the way, you would have to act on it. You know what I mean? Like, if the actions aren't
Exactly.
there, it also means the other two parts aren't there. I imagine that's how I see it.
Yeah,
And so it does take a lot of that sitting and thinking and feeling, because you do have to eliminate the contrast, as Abraham Hicks calls it. I want $1 million, but then we have all of these, uh, you know, I guess, negative thoughts or feelings that want to have attention paid to them so that they can be dissolved. Doubts, shame,
exactly.
all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And
All that self-doubt, all the
mhm,
self-sabotage that we do, all the things that pull us away from what it is that we want by using all those beautiful processes and exercises and tips and secrets, you start to rewire your mind. And so you start to build your belief. And when you build your belief, then you take actions because you believe something can happen. Whereas when you don't have that belief, when you're plagued with doubt about something, actually happening in your life, you hold back, and so you're never going to create it. But as I said, I do see lots of money miracles. Where I remember this one lady in my course, it was last year, and she messaged me to say she had I think it was a $95,703 loan on her house, and she got a letter saying that it had been released, forgiven. There's different words all around the world for it, but it basically cancelled. And she contacted a friend of hers who was in the mortgage business and said, can this happen? And the lady said, no, 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 that they never do that. That wouldn't
Yeah,
happen.
I don't know that
Yeah,
happens.
don't happen. So she actually went down to the county courthouse, and sure enough, it had been released. And she said, and this is it. So she wasn't doing anything specific around her house, but she was doing the different processes and exercises that I teach just around imagining she had more money and more freedom in her life. And so the universe found the best way to bring that to her by just getting the loan just completely cancelled out. So it's like, although as I said, it does take action, but if you really, really align body, mind, and spirit, miracles can happen in the most amazing ways, and the universe just lines it all up. So yeah, it's cool.
Well, I think is what is key is that the universe is a loving universe, and the universe wants us to love ourselves. And so the universe isn't going to just rescue us all the time. That's kind of like enabling us if we're still in our if we're
Yeah.
lacking self. We need to love ourselves into the position for to receive, and the receiving might be in the action as well. But I want to feel accomplished. I want to feel like I'm contributing. I don't want to be, the helpless half-witted child of the universe. I want to be the one who's also contributing.
And that's a huge part of manifesting. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
about becoming the person you need to
Yes.
be. So, for instance, when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, I was one type of person. And this is why you hear of people winning the lottery, and then a year or two or three later, they lose it all again. They
Mhm.
become millionaires, but then they end up with nothing. Why? Because they haven't become the person that they need to be the millionaire. So that's why working on yourself consistently. And I always say to people, manifesting money and creating success and really mastering the law of attraction, it is a lifelong journey. Like your money mindset is something that needs to be worked on all the time. Just like, I used to be an aerobics instructor. So just like you want to get fit and healthy, you don't go to the gym for a month or two or three and then get exactly the way you want to feel, and you'll feel amazing, look amazing, and then say, that's it, I'm done. And then only go to the gym maybe, once a week or once a month. You're not going to get the same result. It's not going to be consistent. So
Yeah.
it's the same with manifesting. When you learn everything around the law of attraction and you work on your mindset, you don't just learn to manifest and then sit back and go, oh, look at me, I did that, and that's the end of it. You have to work on yourself consistently all the time because, as you said, the universe is a loving universe. The universe wants more for us than we could ever want for ourselves. And so to be open to that and to be able to create that and attract that and accept that and embrace that in our lives, we have to become a different person. So you can't be the person sitting on the couch watching TV all day long and expect your life to change. You have to change. You have to take that action. And as well as working on your mindset, you have to take that action to be the person you need to be to create whatever it is you're wanting to create.
I I'm sure, as you know, that the law of attraction comes under scrutiny, criticism, and in my view, skeptics, but particularly critics, are kind of taking things a little too literally. When they say basically it's blaming, it's a spiritual shaming thing. So if this has happened to you, it's because it's your fault. And again, we're being way too literal. Obviously we all have different makeups. I mean, I was never going to be a professional basketball player because I'm not the I'm not any of the composition of it. So how do you respond to, I mean, it comes under criticism about saying that it's a spiritual bypassing, or it's blaming the person, or that it actually will, for example, doesn't take into account marginalized people. and social issues. So this is I'm devil's advocating it, doing being the
Yeah,
devil's advocate.
and
I
that's
want to
a
hear
big
you.
conversation. Yeah,
I want to
a
hear you
big,
talk
big
about it.
conversation. There's so many different levels to that,
Yeah,
but basically, I think um, we all have to take responsibility for our life. But then there is a thing called collective consciousness, which we
yeah,
can sometimes buy into, even though we have our own set of beliefs. And so it's
yeah,
really like, and that overlaps with our beliefs, and that can create certain things in our life that we didn't actually realize we were creating. But then I always remember the story that Oprah once told about this young girl who, I think they had someone come, I don't know if it was a missionary, someone came to their village in Africa, and she'd never seen anyone or known anything other than her little village life, and just that was going to be her life for the rest of her life. And these people talked about things, and she suddenly had this dream of actually doing something with her life and going to this place called America, and becoming somebody. And so she wrote this little message and put it in a little tin and buried it under the earth, but she would think about it every day. And through a series of circumstances that you would have to call miracles, she was able to actually end up going to America, graduated from some huge university, and made like a really big impact in her life, in her family's life, and other people's lives. And so I always think that yes, people are marginalized and people are in a situation where things are really challenging. However, I've read story after story after story of people that have been able to transform that. And I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying everyone can do it, but I think it's a matter of not giving up hope, of not thinking, well, I'm in this situation, so I can't change. Because I'm sure, my situation isn't as bad as a lot of people's, but when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, I could have just thought that was my lot. That was my life. I was never going to be able to change it because I had no skills. I dropped out of high school. I didn't even finish high school, finished in grade 10. I had no connections. I had no money behind me. I had nothing, no, like nothing. And yet I was able, through the law of attraction and through planting that seed of hope in my mind that things could be different, and continually looking at what it is I wanted to create and thinking about it and focusing on that, then everything turned around. And I like, you mentioned something about, people can look at the law of attraction and kind of be very skeptic. But what you've got to understand is, yes, it sounds woo woo. It sounds very kind of new age hippie-ish, but it is based on quantum physics. It is
mhm,
based on science. And so I remember being in a room in Clubhouse probably about a year ago, and I was in this room with quantum physicists, and I got in there because I thought they were going to be talking law of attraction. They were not. They were talking about stuff that completely went over my head. I didn't understand anything they were talking about. They were all so clever. So I'm just sitting in the background listening, listening. But then one of them said something that just really made my heart sing. And he said that we live in the most amazing time because science, the way he said it was so cool, science is finally catching up to ancient principles, and they're
yes,
able to actually validate it and quantify it and test it and see that the things that the ancients have known is actually real. And so we do have this ability, and it's not some magical power, it's just that we have a brain, and our brain is a filtering out system. Like it has to filter everything out, because if it had to take on everything that we can see in this moment and process every single thing, it would explode. Our conscious mind just couldn't handle it. So it all goes into the subconscious mind, but only what's important then filters up to the conscious mind. So, for instance, right now, if someone said to me, well, what can you see around you, Sandy? I'd say, well, a computer, and I can see a light, and I can see a window and a ceiling and a fan and a light and curtains, and outside I can see a Bali hut and a swimming pool, and I can see a Buddha waterfall and candles and a peacock chair and a day bed, and I can see plants. And then if I was just to talk about the plant, I can see light green leaves and dark green leaves, and some leaves are dying and they've got spots on them, and there's a little flower and it's white and yellow, and there's some the sun is just starting to rise, and so I can see sort of sunshine on the spider webs, and I could go on and on and on and on. So in every second, your brain is taking all that in. It's all going into your subconscious, but it's saying, do not let all of that into the conscious mind or it will just, it can't do it. So what happens is your conscious mind is only allowing you to see and experience what you have said is important. So back when I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare, because we can actually train our brain as to what is important. So when I was on welfare and when I was really struggling, what I was constantly thinking about, talking about, putting my focus on, stressing about, having conversations with other people in my mind as well, was about how I had no money. I had all these bills. How was I going to do it? How was I ever going to change my life? I'm always going to be struggling. I was always focusing on the lack of money. So my subconscious said, lack of money is really important to Sandy because she puts so much energy and time and emotion into that. So they're the things we are going to filter into her conscious mind because that's what she said is important. Everything else will filter out. We'll only let in all the things around struggling around money. And so that's why I continue to create that. But when I discovered the law of attraction and combined that with neuroscience and understood that we have this thing at the base of our head, base of our neck, the reticular activating system. And it's basically the gateway that opens up between the conscious and the subconscious mind. And you can program that gateway to allow what it is that you want into your conscious mind. So instead, when I discovered that, it was like, well, instead of focusing on how things were, let me instead focus on what it would be like to be wealthy, to have that beautiful house, to have that car that didn't leak, to be able to go on the holidays. Imagine what it was like to live that life that I love, to have a cleaner. Imagine all those things and focus on that. Think about that. Feel, because that's the important part, feel how good that feels. And then my subconscious mind said, oh, they're the things that are important to Sandy. So when all those things that were already there in her life, but she was filtering it out because it wasn't important to her now that we know this is really important, let us allow all the people, opportunities, situations, circumstances, let her see them to allow her to experience what it is that she said is important. And that's basically the science of it. You have a reticular activating system that you can train to see and experience and attract what it is that's really important to you. And you do that through thinking about what you want, feeling as if it's already real, and then really getting yourself into that place. And there's a time of day that's really powerful for opening up that gateway, and that is kind of when you're in that almost kind of, I was going to say comatose state that people get into in front of the TV, but that's kind of it. It's that state where you're super relaxed, you're not really alert, but you're not asleep. You're just kind of in that halfway phase. And that's why just as you wake up in the morning, really powerful time. Just as go to sleep at night, really powerful time. And unfortunately, when you're sitting there watching TV. So I always say to people, if you're going to watch anything on TV, if you're going to be in that sort of half zoned out state, be careful about what you're watching, because if it's all about violence and struggle and, sadness and all that stuff, you're going to create more of that in your life. Okay. So when you combine the science with the metaphysical, that is when it gets really exciting. But we have the ability to create it the way that we want by training our mind, by the subconscious mind. Because when you do that, then the conscious sees all those things, as I said, that were there before. And the easiest way to explain it is if you suddenly decide there's a certain type of car you want, you will suddenly, as you drive down the road, you will see that car everywhere.
Yeah.
It's all, as soon as you want to buy one, it's like, oh my gosh, everyone's decided to buy one. No, they were there all the time, but you didn't see it because it wasn't that important to you. Now it's important. Subconscious says, oh, this is important. Make sure she sees it all. And there it is. So as I said, you can do that the same with manifesting money, with creating opportunities and creating what it is that you need in your life to take your life to the level that you want it to be. It all comes down to how you think.
And we will be right back. Hi, friend. It's Tricia Carr with an invitation for you if you are ready to accelerate your ascension and connect to the swift flow of your life mission. Mind Body Ascension Acceleration Coaching. All of my clinical training, my experience from teaching and providing countless sessions and classes, one-on-one group coaching, healing, reading, teaching, channeling, as well as my calibration as a human design reflector. I'm offering all of this to you to step up your entire life, to accelerate your ascension walk. If you've had a single session with me, if you've had coaching, or if you've experienced transformation from any of my offerings, my classes, podcasts, videos, well, this is an accelerated and exponentially charged. This is what my soul has prepared for an eternity and up to now. And if you hear this call, then this is also co-created with your soul. Your life is meant to be joy first and a service as a close and integrated second. This coaching is especially tuned for high achievers who want to accelerate their progress on their life mission and create mind-body well-being and higher attunement. Submit to work with me in this powerful container, this premium coaching. If you feel the call, you can do it. I guide, you take action. I hold the resonant projection field, channel your steps, and you take action. The first action step is to fill out an application, the link to which you will find in the description. Be prepared, be ready to upgrade your mind-body ascension and your connection and flow with your spiritual mission. And now back to the show. I'm a hypnotherapist, and so what you're talking about is is hypnosis. When we go into sleep, we pass through a stage of hypnosis. When we come out of sleep, we pass through a stage of hypnosis. And we're actually in hypnosis a lot of other times in the day, like you said, watching television, scrolling on, social media,
All
but
these
also
mindless things. Mhm.
yes, exactly. And also when driving is actually very hypnotic. That's why we miss our
Mm.
our exits or our turns when we've done it a million times because you're actually in hypnosis. But it's also when we're in fight flight, when we're in worry, that's being non-present. We're not really it's not the it's a kind of hypnosis. It's not as good as the daydreamy, relaxed one, but it still is that you are open and suggestible to
Yes. And there's so
yourself.
much emotion there too, which
Mhm.
is the
Yeah.
thing that really anchors something into your subconscious. It's so important.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, your subconscious is your body from the neck down. I mean, Carl Jung told us that is the unconscious mind, and that's how and where we actually feel emotions. I mean, we think about emotions, but that's different. And of course, they work in tandem with one triggers the other. An emotion will trigger a thought will trigger an emotion, but emotions happen so when you're feeling something, that's when it's really anchoring into the subconscious. And so I just wanted to I know you know all of this. I just wanted to highlight it for everyone who's listening.
Yeah.
And what I think is important, what's coming to me about skeptics or critics about law of attraction, universal laws, or any of the kind of metaphysics that, the expanded topics here, when someone is being critical of it, there's one thing that I think we need to do, and that is tend to our own knitting, because one of two things are happening. Either when someone's saying, "Oh, the law of attraction is a spiritual bypass because it doesn't take into account, you know, social situations or whatever." Well, they're paying attention to someone else's situation and judging it. You know what I mean? They're looking
Hmm.
at someone else and saying that person's life is bad. So you're saying that it's their fault. I'm like, who said what? Why do you get to say their life is bad? It's still individualized. What is an improvement or what is good or what is, that still only that person can know that. And then on the other hand, there are people who are like, I've tried the law of attraction and it doesn't work for me. Well, you're kind of, again, in self-judgment. And what is fundamental to it is as you're describing it, we have a thought and we have a deep feeling about it because it feels good. That's self-loving. To be able to really have that feeling because it feels good for me right now, to imagine the millions of dollars or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to all be material things, obviously. It can be lifestyle, it can be relationships, it can be just expressing yourself, it can be self-love. I think that that's what's most important is we need to pay attention to our own. It's about our individual self-love experience and our individual perspective of what is fulfilling or expanding. Do you do you see
Exactly.
what I mean? Like,
Totally, because it's going to be
is it?
completely different for everyone.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
there's going to be people even now that maybe look at my life and think, oh, I would not want to live that life.
right,
And it doesn't matter how much money or how little money you have. There's people that are happy that have lots of money. There are people that are very sad that have lots of money. There are people that have nothing and live the most amazing life.
right,
So
yeah,
it is very individualized what it is that you desire. And it could be, a lot of people get very hung up with the whole money thing, because
yeah,
my whole thing is manifesting money. Having gone from welfare to millionaire, I love to teach people how to manifest money. However, some people get like, oh, I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to have more than my
mm,
share. But it's like, well, think of what you can do with that money. Like some of the things that I've been able to do, I would never have been able to do. And obviously, from my own experience and from my family, doing things like taking my kids to Hawaii and flying by helicopter over where they filmed Jurassic Park. I mean, that was amazing. And trekking the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu and climbing Mount Everest and Mount Kilimanjaro and taking my daughter on a shopping trip from Australia to New York because she loves shopping. I hate it. But then I've also been able to build a house in Ghana for a school in Ghana so that children can go and learn and change their circumstances. Being able to donate to a cause called Opportunity International where they lend microloans to usually women starting small businesses, and they lend the money and they use it to create a small business, and then they make money and they can pay the loan back and they can get a bigger loan, and on it goes. And some of those women have done the most amazing things. One woman I remember, she started off sewing. She now has an international wedding gown business. This is a
mm,
woman who just started sewing for her local, and this is in a third world country. It's usually in third world countries. So I look at all the things that I've been able to do that I would never have been able to do if I had stayed in that place where I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't need money to do that. I can make a difference by donating my time, which is nice, which is great, and absolutely do that too. But money can make such a difference. And I'm not saying giving a hand out. I always believe in giving a hand up. So just giving money for the sake of giving money doesn't always change things. But when you give money that allows people to become empowered, that's where the real change happens. And so, you know, money, yes, that's my focus, but it's just part of a bigger picture of, how I can live my life and how I can make a difference in the world. And I think a lot of people, instead of getting stuck on, oh, I don't want to be greedy, I don't want to have more money, it's just something that's kind of been instilled or ingrained in them over the years that it's bad to have money. And with that mindset, it is very challenging to create more of what you want in your life, because you feel like every time you have something, you're taking away from someone else.
yeah,
Whereas you're creating from the metaphysical, you're creating from the quantum field. It's coming from nothing and being created for you. So no one's going to miss out. You're actually creating it. So the more that you can create, the more that you can help others. And also it's about being an inspiration to other people. I always say we have a lot of live calls for my programs, and at the start of every live call, we love to share successes. And I do that because this is a really great tool that I use. So, I want everyone to listen up to this. When you share a success, so in our programs, they share a success, and I tell everyone, listen to that success with the mindset that, first of all, how lucky are you to be able to witness someone else's success? Because it means you're in that same vibration. Because if you were so far away from it, you couldn't even hear that success. You wouldn't be in a position to be able to experience or witness that. So first of all, be grateful. Second thing is be excited for that person. Like too often people get jealous when they hear of someone creating or attracting or experiencing something that they want. They feel, oh, why not me? How come them? What have I done wrong? But instead, switch that to how exciting for them. Like, aren't they lucky? And then you take it one step further, you imagine that you've created that success. And if it's not something that you want in your life, imagine how they feel and how you would feel if you had created something that you really wanted, and really instill all those feelings in your body. Just have them all just seep into every cell of your being. Because when you do that, you're moving closer and getting in the vibration of what it is that you want. And you're again training your reticular activating system that this is important, being able to experience and manifest and create and have just like these people have. And so use those successes as a catalyst for attracting and manifesting yourself, as opposed to feeling jealous or comparing or feeling left out.
All to my husband's complaint that people say that they're just sitting around and thinking about something and then it just shows up. But it, like you said, in some ways that does happen too. There was this one time I was in a marketing program, and the first week, the person who led it was this NLP expert, neuro linguistic programming expert, and he's super like all about mindset. And like, you know, every time you say how you doing, he goes, "I'm blessed and grateful." Like that was that was his thing. But he was just like this powerhouse. While I was just taking this first week of the course, doing nothing but learning, my bookings, my one-on-one calendar started to, I got overbooked. Like all of a sudden, and I wasn't marketing anymore yet, but it did, like, because my mindset was changing, my magnetism changed, and somehow everybody who possibly had either been thinking about booking with me or just stumbled across it or someone told something, it all started to
Just all
pop
happened.
off. And I had to
Wow.
actually go in and go, "Oh my gosh, I need to change my availability because it was too available because I couldn't meet
And
the demand."
sometimes, I mean, I think that is probably a combination of, yes, definitely your mindset changing in a moment, but also sometimes when we really want something, we're focusing on it, we're thinking about it, we're looking whether it's happened or whether it hasn't happened, and is it going to happen? And even though we're not consciously doing that, at some level, that's where we're at. We're kind of noticing that what we want isn't quite happening. Then when you step away from that environment and you're in
True.
something totally different and you're just in the moment, you let all of that go. And any resistance that you had there that was keeping away those clients, it's gone, because you're, in the moment, you're focusing on what you're
Mhm.
on this beautiful seminar and learning all these things. And so suddenly all those clients are suddenly able to get through what was a little brick wall and
Yeah.
suddenly book. So yeah, there's a combination definitely of in the moment, upgrading your mindset, believing what's possible, expanding your thinking, but then also releasing some of that resistance.
And I wanna share with you, it's along the lines here. Have you ever heard of the law of requisite variety? You're gonna love this.
No.
Okay, so it's a systems mechanics law, so it's actually a physical law, but there's a metaphysical perspective to it. So the law of requisite variety is that, whoever is most flexible controls the system. Whoever is most flexible controls the system. And not only do they control the system, but the system starts to serve that individual. And so there's that, but let me give you an example. This the
Yes, please.
most the most the most stereotypical way that this showed up in my life, I left my corporate career, which had a corporate car, gave it back. But my studio is only 2 miles from my house. And so I was like, do I need a car? Maybe I don't need a car. I'll just walk, and maybe I don't have to get a car just yet. But my husband and I went to go see about getting a car. And I was like, I don't want to spend a lot of money right now. And, so I had in mind I was going to spend this much and I only wanted this payment. Well, when we showed up, they were like, oh no, we couldn't do it for more, they 10x'd all of my expectations. And I was like, oh, okay. Cause I really didn't need a car. I was like, oh, sorry to waste your time. And we're leaving. But that stereotypical, like, I'll walk right out of here in car
Yeah,
negotiations.
yeah.
I literally was. And they were like, oh, no, 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 wait, 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 wait. And we're like, no, no, really, we're not trying to negotiate. I was obviously wrong about my expectations. I'm going to leave. No, of course, I ended up getting exactly a car that I wanted for the amount that I said that I wanted to accept, which was a tenth of what they told me was possible. I was so flexible that not only was I controlling the system, but the system started to serve me. So who is most flexible is a non-resistant place. You see, you
Yes,
get
I
it? Yeah.
love that.
Mhm.
I've got an example of that too. So
Mhm.
I remember I was in this position where I bought a house, and the mortgage broker had told me that I didn't have to use any of my actual cash. I could come, equity from another house could pay for the deposit. So we were all ready to go. I don't know what he did. He stuffed something up and suddenly said I needed this extra $70,000. Just lucky I had $70,000 sitting around the bank. But I didn't want to use it. And I was like, And so when I bought the house, I wasn't that thrilled because it was just an investment property. It wasn't a very nice house. It was kind of a bit old and dilapidated. And I thought, okay, we'll just settle that. I was so busy at work. I just thought I'll just settle that. But I don't really want the house. So then as I signed the contract, I thought, you know what? I don't really want this house. I really want to sell it. But I only just bought it. I was like, I want to sell it. So then the day came, the day that we were supposed to settle. I get a phone call from the agent who said, I've got your keys. And I said, look, I'm really excited, but I really want to sell this place. And he kind of went away, came back, rang again and said, I've got something for you. I said, yeah, I know, you got my keys. He said, no, something better. I've got an offer. I said, okay, what is it? And it was $50,000 more than I had paid for it.
You had it for like a day or something?
I hadn't even got the keys yet. No, it was that day. And I said, and you know what? Because I was at that point where I had a lot of money flowing in and actually selling it even, because I hadn't settled, selling it seemed a bit, then you've got the paperwork and all the stuff and I felt busy and it was like, I said, you know what? Nah, that's not really good enough. And so he goes away, comes back, rings up and says, I've got a better offer. And I said, what is it? And he said, it was something like, I think it was about 80,000 more. And I was like, now I could have said, oh my gosh, yes, give me that. But I said, you know what? Because I'm all about nice numbers and because I'm all about manifesting, you know what would sound even better and would allow me to have a really great story to tell people? If it was $100,000 more. Went away, came back and said, I've got you 100,000. I think I got $104,000 more. So I bought the house. It settled. On the day it settled, I ended up making $104,000 on it. Why? That same reason. I can't remember the name that you called it, but I was like very flexible. I didn't really care. I wasn't attached to the outcome. And so, the universe was like, yeah, okay, here you go. So yeah, I love that. I'll have to get the name of that. I have to write that down.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, but it's the law of requisite variety, and I do have a video on it. I'll put it in the if I can remember, I'll put it in the show notes so people can watch.
Yay,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's that, and that's I mean that's a trick, I guess. That's a thing, is to be able to find that flexibility, to find the non-attachment, and of course that's. We're talking about things. I didn't need a car and you didn't need the house. How do we do that when it is rent? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes. And that is the super tricky part. When we really want something, we tend to have a different energy. Like, I've got to have it and I really want it. And if it doesn't come, and that energy isn't great for manifesting. Manifesting really needs if it's something you want, manifesting needs to be that beautiful energy that you would have as if you already had it. Because when you've got the energy of, I really need this, then that's an energy of, I don't have it yet. And so that's the energy that you're putting out into the universe. So that's what you end up attracting, not having it. Yeah. So it is really tricky having, and I know I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare. So when I discovered the law of attraction, it was so challenging at the start to focus on what I actually wanted, because my entire life, my entire being, every cell of my body was screaming with, I don't have any money. I don't know what I'm going to do. And it took me a while to really, embrace all the different processes that I love to teach people so that I felt that rather than just know it. It's the feeling, because it's the emotion is what gives your desire the energy to manifest. And that's why when we're in a place of fear, we attract what we don't want so easily, because we've got that very strong emotion. But we want instead to create the emotion and for it to be a very strong, beautiful, even energy emotion, as if you've already got that thing, feeling grateful, feeling joy, feeling happiness, feeling whatever those feelings you would feel as if you've got it in your life. They're the feelings you want to feel, because A, it's going to help you manifest what you desire, but B, it's going to make you feel so much better in the moment as
Yeah.
well. So you're just going to feel like your life is better all round just
And
because
that
you're
actually
soaking in
creates
those
health.
emotions.
And that creates
Yes.
health too. Of course, we know
Yeah.
that stress, anxiety creates constrictions of blood flow, and then we have injury and illness. So what we can do, and of course then the other question, or the what's the word I want to say, like the resistance that shows up for us, is that, well, I don't have time to, I am $100,000 in debt and on welfare and with children, so I don't have time to sit around and daydream. But you do have to go to sleep, and you have to wake up, you do have to use the bathroom. You know what I mean? These, and
Yeah.
also I've been able to make big changes when I was in a state of, I really don't want this thing, and so I want this other thing to happen. And that's like a big career transition for me. And so I started to infuse it into the thing that I didn't want, which sounds confusing. And I'll just tell the story. It was when I was in hospitality, I was a bartender, and all this, and I had this new potential job opportunity. Actually, before the job opportunity came up, I was in a new iteration of the thing that I hated. And I was like, I had this moment where I was complaining to a colleague about the new job and the new people at the job who were all the same things that made me upset. And I stopped myself while I was complaining to my friend, and I was like, "You know what? I'm sick of hearing myself complain about this. I'm complaining that this guy James and this woman Susan at this job is, a pain in my butt, and that, but, it used to be just Michael and Louise. It's going to be if I it's going to keep being, I'm the constant here." So I said, "I'm
Hmm.
going to stop doing that. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to be okay with the fact that I want to move on from this. That's a weird place to be in. I'm going to be okay with the fact that I'm not okay with it." That's a weird little trick to try to play on your
Hmm.
mind. Have like senioritis, like senior year of high school. You want to go, you want to get out of high school, but you're not out of high school yet. And I'm going to just be kind every moment that I can. That's what I focused on, was being kind. And I think then I attracted kindness from the universe, because I was only in that job being kind and trying to not complain, or not complaining as much as possible. Just change. I was infusing it into, I didn't have time to sit around and muse or whatever. I wasn't taking time. And then in 2 months, I got this job opportunity I never could have dreamed of, like
Hmm.
surpassed my family's poverty line and everything.
Hmm.
So it is, if we can start to put it into those times that we're already in hypnotic states, like you were saying, and somehow put it into life. Is that one of the things that you teach? And is that how you did it too? Start to just see things differently in life, catch yourself and pivot?
Yeah, and I think one of the easiest ways to do that, that people can use like every single day, is gratitude. Like
Yeah.
just be grateful, because one of my mentors once said to me, there are billions of people around the world right now who, if they could swap their life for your life for just one day, they would be living a life so far beyond their wildest dreams. It would
Yeah.
just blow their mind.
Right.
And so, no matter what our life is, just the very fact that if you're listening to this right now, I mean, you've got the internet. You've got so much more than so many people have. You obviously have the money to pay the electricity or pay your phone bill or whatever it is. So it's like we need to stop and be grateful so much more for what we have. And when that happens, something magical happens in the universe. When you take the time every day to feel grateful for what you already have, you start to attract more things in your life to be grateful for. And it can be simple as, or as complicated as, so let's take the simple route. You could just, whenever something happens throughout your day that you can be grateful for, take a moment to stop and actually be grateful for it. Because we can go through our life just on autopilot, things are happening, we're just taking everything for granted, and we only notice the things that are wrong. Instead, spend some time really noticing the things that are right, noticing the things that you enjoy, noticing the things that you can feel grateful for. And then, as I said, you stop, you notice, and you don't have to spend hours, even minutes, just seconds, just feeling
Yeah.
that gratitude in your heart, because that's a
Mhm.
shift of energy. And that energy is what you then send out to the universe, and it can bring you more things to be grateful for. Or you can do it in the more, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's more intense,
Yeah.
is you could say, I'm going to have a gratitude day. And you get up in the morning, and as soon as you open your eyes, I'm so grateful for my bed and my pillow, and I'm so grateful I'm in a room and in a house, and I've got a roof over my head. I'm so grateful for my doona or my covers. I'm so grateful. And then you get out of bed. I'm so grateful that I've got carpet on the floor or tiles or whatever it is. I go to the bathroom. I'm so grateful I've got running water. It's like there are so many things that we can be grateful for that I think people on a day-to-day basis just completely take their life for granted and just don't really seep themselves in the gratitude that they should be. And when you start to do that, honestly, your life can transform so quickly because gratitude is a really, really strong, high vibrational energy. And it really allows you to, as I said, attract more things into your life to be grateful for.
Yeah, gratitude is the energy of having,
Mm.
of being, literally being abundant. So it calls more of that in. I have
And the other thing about gratitude too, which I didn't mention, was yes, you can be grateful for everything you have, but also a little mind trick, be grateful for all the things that you want as if you already have them. So if
right.
you're wanting a better job, be grateful that that better job is there and it's coming to you now. If you want, the love of your life, be grateful and feel as if they're already there and feel that love that you would feel from them and to them. If you want a better car, when you get in the car that you have, be grateful for that car, but also feel in the moment that it is the new car and feel the gratitude surging through your body. So, be grateful for what you have, but also be grateful for the things that you want as if you already have them.
Mhm. I have an advanced manifestation issue. I want to share
Oh,
with you.
advanced. Okay.
It's advanced.
Mm,
So, this has entirely to do with money and career kinds of manifestations, not love and relationships. So, that's perfect because that's your specialty. So,
mhm,
this is what I'm working on, and I need to spend some more time I or space or energy, whatever, the feeling space of it. So I have many times over miraculously, well, not spontaneously, but manifested what I wanted, like that story I just told you about. And it has like this heyday, but then I outgrow it. And then the thing is now like strangling me. It's no longer what I want. So that story I told about transitioning from like bartending to this other really great job. Well, about I don't know, 2 years into that great job, I had a spiritual awakening. And so that job was no, you know what I mean? Like total transition of my life and perspective. And then I realized while there was a lot of great stuff about it, it still wasn't it. And I actually, even before the spiritual awakening, I was like, something's missing still, but I hadn't had that
mm.
awakening yet. And then and so I keep like manifesting something but outgrowing it, and then the transition out of it is uncomfortable. So I'm thinking I need to somehow stretch the new thing over to the old thing somehow in order for me to not have as much
But
discomfort.
but you know what? Growth can be uncomfortable.
It
I mean, that's how it
is.
is. Like, think about it. Like when you birth something new into the world, think of actual birth. Very
Mhm.
uncomfortable. And so, it really is a matter of think about the butterfly
Mhm.
in the
Yeah.
chrysalis, and for it to get out, there's a lot of struggle, but the struggle makes you stronger. And so if everything in life was all about this is what I want, manifesting that. Oh, now I want something more, manifesting that. This is what I want. And then just flowing from one thing to the other. Life, I know it sounds ridiculous, but life would get very boring.
Yeah, it's
And
true. Yeah.
it's that challenge, it's that uncomfortableness that really allows us, as you said, Abraham, it's that contrast that
Yeah.
allows us to really birth a bigger vision of what it is that we want and do what we need to do to step up to that next level. So, you know,
It's true,
kind
but
of,
where
I'm going to say that's life.
I know it is, but I'm in a place right now, I guess I'm resolving this, where I don't trust myself to manifest because 'cause I'm like, "You're gonna like it for, like, a minute, and then you're gonna be mad at it." That's what
Yes,
I
you
mean
know
by
what? This happens to everyone, though. I think what
okay.
happens when people first learn about the law of attraction, learn
Mhm.
about manifesting in the quantum field, sometimes they have like beginner's luck. It's like they didn't know
Yeah.
about it. Now they know about it. Like, whoa, I'm manifesting, finding $5 on the footpath and a check came in the mail and, all these great things start to happen. But then, and this can be on a bigger scale depending on how long you've been learning it. But then what happens is it either all falls apart or you start to have these little doubt like, oh, am I going to be able to do this again? Like,
Yeah.
is this possible? Uh, what if I've lost it? What if I've got too much doubt in my mind, and so I'm never going to be able to do it again? It's like all these
Mhm.
thoughts come up, and again, we're human, and that is the journey we're on. We are going to have good times. We're going to have bad times. We're going to have, happy times. We're going to have sad times. That's the journey we're on as a human on this planet, and so part of that is the challenges, but it's how you react to the challenges, how long you seep yourself in those challenges, how much when it's not working and you don't feel great that you spend time talking to others about it and writing a blog post about it and putting it on social media and ringing up your mum. It's like I always say to people, when everything goes wrong, do a happy dance because it means the universe has something bigger and better for you.
Yes. Yes, it's
So,
true.
life is life. Challenges come and go. It's how long we put our energy and our focus on it depends then on how long we experience it. So if the challenge comes and we unload to someone about how bad it was and then we move on, that challenge can come and go very quickly. But when things happen and we're not really happy with them and then we focus on it and we think about it and we talk about it and we put our energy there, then we can drag it out to be a much longer time. But we're in control of that. So yeah, life is life. We're going to have the challenges. We're going to have times where we're not happy, we're not comfortable, but let's make it short and sweet and move on.
You're so right with the beginner's luck really put it in context for me because beginner's luck happens because a beginner doesn't have any resistance
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have any wisdom or
Mm-hmm.
experience yet. Maybe they have wisdom, but they don't have experience yet. They can use the wisdom tools without any of that experience of just what could cause resistance. And by the way, as you were saying that, the one career when the last career ended and segued into the new one, it didn't end badly. I was uncomfortable while it was like I no longer wanted it and I was creating the new one, but it ended with them giving me like a lot of money in order for me to keep going. So I'm like,
Well, let's dive into gratitude.
I know what a jerk I am. Oh, this has been really great. I feel like I got a free session too, a little free tune up on my mind. Yeah, so great. Well, so you have a course. Tell us all about how people can work with you, what you have going on, because this is great. This is great stuff.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I've got a program called Divine Money Manifesting, which really is about breaking through any blocks, just releasing all that resistance, and just allowing yourself to become more magnetic to money. And then I've got a program for people that really love the law of attraction and really like just want to live it every single day and share it. I actually have a 10-month training and certification program for people to become internationally certified law of attraction coaches. And all that information is at my website, wildlywealthy.com. And yeah, and also for your listeners, I would love to give them a gift. So for the people that would like to get into that place where they're starting to change their energy, change their vibration around abundance, you can go to wildlywealthyfree.com. And I've got some guided visualizations and some affirmations that are going to allow you to become more attractive to abundance.
I love it. Oh, Sandy, this has been fantastic. I just so appreciate you coming on and sharing that success because, I think of it as spiritual osmosis as we get excited for you and what you're sharing and the possibilities and the evidence of it. Then, yeah, I'm going to take it in. And I'm very, very grateful for you. And I'm just claiming all of the abundance that is coming through from this conversation. And I'm claiming it for everyone else if they want to sign off on it. So thank you
Oh,
so much
my
for coming on.
pleasure. My pleasure. And the thing I want everyone to really remember is something I alluded to before. Like, think about it. You might think I'm different to you, but I'm just Sandy from the Sunshine Coast. And I dropped out of high school, had no contacts, no money behind me, no great skills, but I embraced the law of attraction and I use it every day. And I've been able to go from welfare to millionaire. I've been able to transform my life. I transform lives around the world. I love what I do. And so if I can do it, anyone can do it. Everyone listening can do it when you really put your mind to it.
Thank you so much, Sandy. I believe it. I claim it. So thanks again. I appreciate you
Thank
so
you.
much. So, one thing that really stood out to me that I am taking away from this, and I'm I'm going to get into it, y'all, is how Sandy said that we want to commit to, or how she committed to the law of attraction. And when she said that, I'm like, have I? Have I really committed to it? I do understand that, people have the criticisms and the skepticisms, as was mentioned in the podcast, but I don't need to have that. I can see how working with a law of the universe like this, just like a law of nature, can be judged or viewed, but that's just not helping me. I can feel and sense my individual, compassionate, benevolent experience of the universe within it. So I'm going to tell you guys that I'm committing to the law of attraction. I'm going to work it and play it in my life. And I'm thinking about joining one of Sandy's programs because I deeply enjoyed our conversation and I felt really attuned in it. So I'm expecting some pretty cool things to happen in my life from this episode. And I hope you are too. And I'm excited for this to happen for you. I'm excited for those miracles to happen for you. I'm also excited for the becoming to happen. That's another takeaway I'm from this episode for me is that the becoming, we want to become the person that we are inside. We want to contribute. We want to be this great piece of the universe, and we are. And I believe that we are pursued and summoned into that. And so that's what I am focusing on and taking away with this episode. Well, be sure to check the show notes for Sandy's offers for that free gift that she mentioned. Check out her website, her book. Oh, wow. That's a powerful book if they're banning it. And also, in my show notes, I have ways for you to join the trainings that I have going on. By the way, in my experience working with animals and working with mediumship, those enhance my capacity to have the law of attraction work for me, because attuning to animals in nature and attuning to the higher frequencies in multidimensional mediumship helps me to, well, it's what has changed my life. That's why I have the two signature programs, one animal communication, the other multidimensional mediumship, to live a life that is both grounded and miraculous and spectacular. So I'm going to be infusing all of this together. So I invite you to check the show notes, because we probably either have, depending on when you're listening to this, animal communication or multidimensional mediumship coming up, or some other workshops. And it's the matter of, if you are interested in community that will help to foster that spiritual osmosis, the infectious manifestation across the whole group, to be with people who have a like-hearted experience, vision for their lives and for the world. And if you want to be immersed in spiritual education, spiritual learning, spiritual experiencing, even more than all of that, because all of my programs include immersion with the hypnotic modalities that I guide and teach and channel for us. And if you love animals, then definitely the animal program is for you. And if you just love spirit and you want to be in that experience of immersion, then multidimensional mediumship or any of the other workshops are for you. So that's what I have for you in this episode. I encourage you to commit to the law of attraction, because you know what? I believe it's committed to you. So thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.